I hope you find this information helpful. We are going to assume that you're here because you're interested in learning more about not just training to become a family mediator or possibly an arbitrator or a parenting coordinator. Those may be areas of practice that you're interested in as well. But that you're probably interested also in learning about the other requirements, like experiential requirements, and you're probably also interested in learning a little bit about the field and the industry and the practice and how it works and what work opportunities there are. So we will hopefully address all of this. I'll just answer who am I. I'm a family lawyer from Toronto who since the year 2000 roughly has exclusively practiced as a mediator and then as an arbitrator, and then more recently as a parenting coordinator. And I've also been doing training in all of those areas starting probably in about 2005. We at Riverdale now have a very busy practice. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us. There's me, there's Cliff Nelson, who is a retired Superior Court family judge. There is Borsu Tabrizi, who is a family lawyer who's still practicing as a lawyer and also working with Riverdale as a mediator and an arbitrator and a parenting coordinator. There is Lindsay Kirchland, who is a lawyer as well and working with Riverdale as a parenting coordinator. And then there is also Avagene Skervin, who you'll be meeting a little bit later, who is a mediator with Riverdale. And we also all do screening for power imbalances and family violence in the arbitration context, which is a separate standalone area of work that I'm happy to answer questions about later if anybody has them. So that's a really brief, and we also do a lot of training. We've done training for family mediators, arbitrators, parenting coordinators, virtually all around the world for many years. And it's a really fun part of what we do. And as an offshoot of that, and I guess an offshoot of our practice, we also run a mediator and training program, which is where we provide an opportunity for mediators in training to observe live mediations. We're doing it all by Zoom now, and you'll hear more about that in a bit. And then also gain the opportunity to work as a co-mediator with already certified or accredited mediators. And we're also doing the same shortly with parenting coordination. And one of the things that we're very fortunate to be able to include in all of this is an opportunity to learn about the court-connected mediation services in Ontario through a related company, Mediate 393. We provide those services in 3 Toronto family courts. So the whole package is one that can assist and support people who are interested in learning a lot about the family mediation field in a variety of ways. Why get certified as a family mediator? It's an interesting question because it isn't required unless you're going to provide court-connected services in the province of Ontario. Mediation is otherwise an unregulated profession. And it's a little bit ironic because arbitration and parenting coordination is a little bit more regulated. There's actually a regulation under the Arbitration Act that applies to arbitrators and parenting coordinators. There is no such regulation anywhere that applies to family mediators or any kind of mediators other than those providing mandatory mediation in the civil litigation context and the estate litigation context. There is no mandatory mediation in family law. And so family mediation is a relatively unregulated field. But the reason why you want to get certified is because I would suggest that regulation has never been needed. And that's because so many of us are certified or accredited. So many of us have worked with or gained our training and our experience alongside a credible organization that provides credible and standardized best practices, guidance, support, codes of conduct, complaints processes, and so on. And we'll be talking a little bit about those organizations in a while. Getting certified also gives you access to very affordable and very good insurance coverage. The errors and omissions insurance policies available to family mediators, arbitrators, and parenting coordinators are well structured. They're highly affordable. They offer a complete coverage with a very low deductible. And it's also just good to have that insurance. And the other reason to get certified is it introduces you to a supportive community and a network of colleagues, which is great. It gives you an organization to turn to if you have problems. It's a way of getting continuing education at an affordable rate. It's a way of staying current in the field, which is so important in this field. And it gives you credibility from a marketing perspective. It makes you a better mediator in every way. So there are many reasons to get certified. And I certainly would never recommend a mediator who's not certified in my experience. So I'm going to take you through then really quickly the courses that you need to take in order to secure an Ontario designation. So we've organized these structured them, I think, in a nice, easy way for people to understand. Depending on where you're coming from, you will look to the relevant field to determine what training you need to take. So for those of you who are family lawyers, the courses that you will need to take are as follows. You need to take, this is to get any of the designations for family mediation in Ontario, a 21-hour course in screening for power imbalances, 40 hours, and then another 21 hours in mediation theory and skills training, a family relations course, which is either 2 days or 3 days, depending on the organization that you're seeking to be certified with. Mental health professionals then, as you can see, mental health professionals need to take family law 21 or 30 hours. They also need to take the screening course, the basic family mediation course, and the advanced family mediation course. I think the chart's intending to indicate that if you are a lawyer but not a family lawyer, you will need to take the family law course. Or even if you're a family lawyer but you haven't practiced for a number of years, you may need to take the family law course. And the same applies really for mental health professionals vis-a-vis the family relations course. In theory, mental health professionals are exempted from taking the family relations course, but it may depend on the professional experience and background and training of that mental health professional as to whether or not the organization would require them to take it in order to gain a certification. So you can see family relations is encouraged if the professional's experience is not on parenting in high conflict or separating couples or in separating couples. The other professionals category is really for anybody who is not a mental health professional or not a family lawyer. And of course, I'll stop there because, of course, very recently, very positively in my view, the Law Society has finally recognized that there is an appropriate scope of practice in the family law field for paralegals. It's very modest and limited and won't come into effect, I believe, for some period of time. So we'll have to change this chart at that time because I'm sure that those qualified paralegals will not need to take a family law course. Other professionals, though, basically need to take everything: the family law course, the screening course, the basic and advanced mediation courses, and the family relations course. So what Frank will explain momentarily is we have structured our courses by package based on your professional background to make it easy for people to make sure that they're registered in the right courses. Frank, I'm going to put it over to you just to speak about the course schedule and the fees.
For sure. So this is our lovely homepage of our learning management system. This is how we deliver our courses, but I'll get to that in a second. So all of our pricing is listed on our websites and our packages. So I'll just kind of take you through where you can find that information. So I'll just take you through our course schedule, which is, you'll find it under all courses. Now everything is listed in chronological dates. And because sometimes with the way our program works now, there will be, let's say, 2 deliveries of a particular course in one calendar year. So participants do have the option of selecting the date that they want to attend. Just wanted to point that out. But again, all of our pricing is here. So it's the course description page. And we do provide, I believe in the flyer that was included in the welcoming letter does give you an overview of all the dates. So there's the self-directed learning. So when a program is open, and then the live tutorial dates. And I just want to share one little brief thing here, just so you're aware. So this is how our courses work. So when you see a start and end date for each program, it's basically self-directed. So the program will open on a particular date, which means you'll have full access to the course, well, in sections. So each course is divided into modules. There's roughly 3 to 5 modules for each course, depending on what it is. If it's our 40-hour basic course, there'll be 5 modules. If it's our 21-hour screening course, there'll be 3 modules. And the content is you're expected to complete the content in chronological order. And the modules lead up to the live tutorial session, which everything is accessible within our learning management system. It sounds a little strange, but once you're in there and you see how the content is structured, it's just easier to digest and grasp. Live tutorials, these are mandatory sessions which make up the hours needed for your certification. So we just thought that sitting through lectures would be best delivered in recorded playback lectures. It's always best when you're doing it independently, because then you can actually pause when you need to sort of reflect and review the content. We found that when this was being delivered in real time, it was always some of the general feedback was a lot of information to absorb. So what's the best approach? Making this on demand, this content. So for those who decide to take training with us, you'll find that's a huge benefit because you get to work at your own pace, and you'll just better understand the material. And then leading up to the live tutorials, you'll find that you'll have more questions and there'll be more engagement. So there is a lot of interactive aspects to our training. But we understand that there is a lot to take in such a short period of time. And that's why the learning management system is the best approach to delivering our mediation training and our PC training and arbitration training. So I just wanted to point that out. This information is actually on one of the flyers that you received, so you can just kind of review at your leisure. So I'm just going to go back to the website, if you don't mind. So again, just a quick review. All our courses can be found on the All Courses page. So if you want to take a look at what's coming up. But as Hilary mentioned, packages can be found in the certification program page. And there are lovely filters here at the very top that you can play around with. But let's just focus on the Family Mediation Certificate Program. And here you'll find all the packages for each category. So FMA would be family lawyers, and B, mental health professionals. Now, I'm not sure why it's not organized by title. And the C package is for other professionals. So we've compiled all these lovely courses into one package to make it easier for you, for those who actually want to register for the full program and not on a course-to-course basis. We did reduce our prices recently, so that's a huge plus for those who want affordable training. With respect to payment, if you're registering for on a course-to-course basis, we require a 15% deposit upfront, and you pay the full balance prior to the start of the course. If you purchase a package, we do the payment in 2 installments. So just for your information.
One of the good questions here is there a required order for taking courses? And my answer is we've structured all of the programs the way we have for a reason. And that's because we want you to take the courses in the right order for sure. The screening for power imbalances and family violence is such a fundamental course to anything and fundamental training for anybody working in the family law field at all. So that is a prerequisite for any of the skills and theory courses. You do need to take that course first. We really recommend for people who aren't lawyers that they take the family law course as well, because we use role plays in all of our training, and they're based, they require a certain amount of legal knowledge. So I would recommend that you take family law. It's not a strict prerequisite, and sometimes people can't, right? Sometimes people, stuff happens, life happens. And so we don't hold people to that, but we do on the screening course. And it's one of the real benefits of the learning, of doing the program this way is it makes it a lot easier for working professionals to take this training, because the tutorials are in the evenings and you have usually a week between tutorials to complete all the coursework. And so it really makes it possible for most people to be able, even if unexpected things are going on in their life, makes it a lot easier for people to complete the courses in the right order. Likewise, we recommend for lawyers that you do take the family relations training before you take the skills and theory training, for the same reason. These are foundational courses. And so that's how we've structured the program. But having said all of that, we will bend over backwards. We've got a lot of flexibility, unlike an institution. This is one of the things that's great, is we will do everything we can to make sure you are able to get what you need. And we have a fair number of people who, things come up. We train a lot of really busy professionals, and something comes up and they have to miss a day or so of a course, or 2 days or whatever. We will just insert them into the next version of the course, give them, put them in the next class on those days so that they get to complete their training. And as long as that's all cool with the organization that's certifying you, because, as Frank was saying, we're currently offering all the courses twice a year now. But even then, if you have to wait to the next version of the course, that can take, months. So we'll do everything in our power to make this work. And another question: if there's other options, if you work evenings, no, I'm afraid not. And this isn't the first time, unfortunately, we've had somebody who works evenings. But because the tutorial's once a week, we really and we give you lots of notice. Hopefully, people are able on that one night to switch their work schedule around and attend the tutorial, because the tutorials are absolutely mandatory. That is where we see you. That's where we coach you. That's where we connect with you. And that's really where the real learning happens. As Cindy will know, she's done a lot of coaching in our training. And so we absolutely insist on attendance at the tutorials. And unfortunately, we have to, we schedule them the way we have to meet the needs of as many people as possible. So I apologize for that. Let me, Frank, did you have anything else to say? I'll answer the rest of the questions as we go.
I have nothing else to say. I believe I covered the basics of, our packages, our courses. Everyone has information on our course schedule, but please do reach out to me if you do have any questions about, the courses themselves or the schedule. Yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. Thank you.
So I probably have said all this already. We use Zoom for all of our training. The day will come when we reincorporate some in-person sessions, I'm sure, because I really miss seeing people and interacting with people that way. I will say, though, having trained in boardrooms and hotel conference rooms for 15 years before we moved to Zoom, I can't tell you how much better Zoom training is than the in-person training, much to my great surprise. I wouldn't have believed it until I started doing it. And it's primarily because of the tutorials, because we are able to put you into really small groups, pair you with a coach, and let them give you one-on-one, very relevant and useful coaching. And the feedback that we get from our students about that is really overwhelming. It also allows us to standardize our training material. So and deliver it in a consistent way to everybody. And it also allows us to bring really good speakers to you from like all around the world. So it's turned out to be a really great teaching tool. And I think the feedback that we get confirms that. As Frank said, you have access to the course for a period of time, and we keep access open after 2 in case people want to go back and watch the videos. And we also include in the learning management system lots of like extra video material, and we're constantly creating new stuff and putting it in there. So it's pretty fun. We're constantly doing demonstrations, and I just interviewed, for example, a couple of parenting coordinators from South Africa, just to learn how they do things there. And we'll be putting that in the learning management system for our PC training program, and so on. The other really important and positive aspect of this format of training is that we include tests, right? A learning management system is a great thing, and it allows us to design quizzes that you have to complete after each module in order to move on to the next module. That's very beneficial for you because it allows us, again, to check in with you. Make sure you are actually taking away what we want you to take away. It allows us to increase the standards of our training and make sure you're getting it. And it's also another way, frankly, to deliver information to people. So I love the learning management system because we're giving you visual learning, we're giving you auditory learning, we're giving you quizzes, we're giving you thoughtful, reflective learning. And there's also, we ask you to do reflective journals and that sort of thing. There's assignments, you upload them into the learning management system. It's all great. We can email you through the learning management system. We can give you individual and group feedback and so on. So it's all good. So that's that. And as Frank said, yeah, we have 2 terms, and this is, this is all a work in progress, and we're excited about it to be able to do this way. Because we've developed the courses now, so we can offer them in 2 terms: a September to February term and a March to August term. And you can pick your term. And like I said, if you happen to miss a course in a term, you can take it in the next term. It can have an impact, as I said, on your graduation date, and if it's a prerequisite, it can have a significant impact on your graduation date. But we'll work with you as best we can. I think you've got our teaching material, so I won't go through it. You can see who our teaching team is. We have just an excellent group of people teaching these programs, and we're growing our teaching team all the time as we train more people and we bring more people in. Then we grow the teaching team. And I'm very committed to that because our field is evolving, and the people who teach it, the people who do it, the people who teach it have to evolve too, to reflect not only changing practices and changing standards, but also, the demographics and the real life experiences of the clients we serve and the colleagues we work with. We're really working hard to make room in our field and grow it to make it welcoming and accommodating to everybody. And that's something that I'm quite committed to. The role plays, I write them all. They're realistic simulations. I've been doing this work for a very long time, and role play writing's fun. None of them are actual cases. Of course, I have to protect client confidentiality, but the role plays are all well-written, realistic simulations. And you'll also get not only oral feedback from your coaches, but they'll provide you with written feedback as well. And all materials are included in the fee. And the course, the course material changes every year. We update it, parts of it, all the time. So I think I've covered this already. This is just the experience requirements, and I think Cindy's going to speak more to this shortly. So I won't speak too much about this. And Cindy's probably going to speak about this as well. Where do you actually find the actual experience? And the truth is sometimes you have to look hard, but all the organizations recognize the ability of any professional who has their designation to supervise professionals for certification purposes. So you can be creative and find individuals to supervise you if you don't have the ability or the means to pay for a supervised experience program like ours, or others, some of which are even more expensive than ours. And I believe likewise, our mediator and training program, Cindy's going to speak about that. It is something that begins after you have completed the 80 hours roughly of course training, and you can submit your application towards the end of your training program, because we have a waiting list for our mediator and training program. So what we say to people is, as you're nearing the end of your training, don't do it too early. Send us your application for the mediator and training program so that you can get in queue to have an interview for that program once you have completed your coursework. And this is just a quick compendium of some of the organizations you want to know about. If you're interested in getting involved in this field, networking is so important, and meeting other people who are doing the same work, especially if you're new to the field. So I've just given you a list of the ones that I could think of. The Ontario Association of Family Mediation, they've been doing this since the 80s. Family Mediation Canada, of course, was the first organization in Canada to get into this field. It was actually created by the Department of Justice in the early 80s to create some standards for family mediation countrywide. And the OFM and other provincial organizations were offshoots of FMC. When I was on the OFM board many, many years ago, we were an affiliate of FMC. OFM subsequently broke away and became an independent organization, but all these organizations have a history. FIDRIO is a more recent organization. I was one of the people who created it, and I created it along with 3 colleagues to find a home for people who were doing more than family mediation. So particularly for people who are also doing parenting coordination and arbitration. These are basically, there are some, as I mentioned earlier, regulatory requirements that apply to parenting coordinators and arbitrators, but otherwise, like mediation, it's an unregulated field. And so I wanted to establish FIDRIO to create some best practices and some standards for those area of practice and some training standards. The AFCC, the Association of Family and Conciliation Courts, sorry, the word courts is missing there, is pretty much a must-join organization if you're going to be active in this field. You can Google it. They have an Ontario branch. They do amazing stuff. And if you're a member of the AFCC, you also get an automatic subscription to the Family Court Review, which is an excellent journal that will keep you very current on the trending topics in our field. ADRO, I've mentioned, excellent organization, and ADRIC is its parent organization. Another great organization, I've been on the board of all of these organizations over the years pretty much. Well, that's not true, not FMC and not ADRIO. But APFM, the Academy of Professional Family Mediators, is an American organization, and I've been on the board of it. And it's a great organization. I recommend them really highly to you. They've evolved into a very great organization. It's not expensive to join, and they have some of the best conferences. They draw on remarkable experience and knowledge across the United States. There's the International Family Mediation Institute and Mediation Beyond Borders, or Mediators Beyond Borders International. So there are so many organizations. Your head is probably spinning right now, but it's a good thing because it demonstrates to you how diverse, how energetic, and how collaborative this field is. It is a great field, and it's challenging, and it's inspiring, and it's dedicated to access to justice in all the right ways. Work opportunities in the field, there's a lot, and these are all processes that are evolving and can be done, can be offered to clients in hybrid ways. You do want to make sure you have the training and the qualifications to do them, though. These are important responsibilities, and we hold ourselves out as knowing what we're doing and meeting all of our duties, which are many and complex. So, I don't say this lightheartedly. I really believe in high quality service, just like I believe in high quality training, and I don't suggest that you just do this work until you're well connected, you've got good supports and mentors, and you're well trained and certified. But There's lots of consulting work available depending on what your field of practice is. Lots of mediation demand. Arbitration is in high demand in the family law field. Parenting coordination, something we do a lot of at Riverdale, is in high demand. Parenting coordination, for those of you who don't know, and I'm going over time, so I'm going to stop soon, is a dispute resolution process for parents who already have a separation agreement or a parenting plan, and they need somebody to help them resolve disagreements arising out of that parenting plan. There are court-connected mediation services that are often looking for new members for their roster. And within your communities or elsewhere, you can teach, you can co-mediate, you can collaborate with other colleagues and work together. There are lots of opportunities, by the way, to volunteer as well. This is not remunerative work, but it's great networking opportunities with all of these organizations. They will welcome you with open arms. They all have student memberships, by the way, that are quite affordable. And you're, at least with some of them, if you're taking our training, you qualify as a student. And finally, IRC, that refers to Information and Referral Coordinator. That is a specialized role within the family courts that is part of the court-connected mediation services. And there is work there as well. So what I'm going to do is pass it over immediately to Cindy, Avagene, and Adrienne, and then we can take questions at the end.
Okay, hi. So I'll review the MIT program, and then I'll call upon Avagene and Adrienne to share their experiences with the program. So once you've completed all the training, you can then go in, and the link has been provided to you to complete the application for the MIT program. And you'll upload your certificates, your resume, everything that's been asked. And then once I receive it, your name goes on our wait list. And the question probably will be, well, when do we get called? It's all going to depend on the interns that we have now, when they finish. And so then I would be looking, when they're near to completion, I'll be looking at the applications and resume, and then calling you in for an interview, and then answering any questions, and then we can take it from there. So what do we do? For me is what's the distinction of Riverdale for our internship program, which I think is one of the best. So as an intern, you have the opportunity to work with the mediators that are part of Riverdale. I'd encourage you to go onto the Riverdale website if you haven't already. So they conduct mediation, they do MedArp, they do parenting coordination. So as an intern, you would be able to participate in that, either observing or co-mediating those files. Then we have Mediate 393. Again, I'd encourage you to go onto their website if you haven't. That is our court-connected mediation. So those people who are in court and want mediation while they are in court, we provide what's called on-site mediation, even though it's on Zoom, but it's called on-site mediation because they're court-connected. And if they haven't been in court yet and they want subsidized mediation, then they go what is called off-site mediation. Again, everything right now is on Zoom, as Hilary indicated. You know, our mediations may at some point go back to in person. So that we need to be flexible with that. But at this point in time, it is via Zoom. So we have those three. We have a number of mediators. So as an intern, you get to have that exposure to all our mediators. I'd say there's probably about 20 of us as mediators doing on-site and off-site. So you get to see different styles. And the feedback that I get from our interns is that you get to pick and choose and say, wow, I really liked what that mediator did. That suits my style. I'm going to remember that, and that's going to be part of my style. Or, oh, I never thought of doing it that way. I can adapt that. I can see the benefits of whatever that was. Or, you know what, that's not my style, and that's okay. But they get experience and exposure to all the different styles. So with the internship, you do 60 hours of observations, and then you do 40 hours of co-mediating, where you would be taking the lead of our files. And when you do from intake to writing up the mediation summary report, then that report would be included in one of 5. You need 5 reports to then apply to OFM, FIDRIO, for their certification. And then those would be used that way. And maybe then I can turn this over to Avagene first, who was our intern, and now she's our on-site, off-site, and Riverdale mediator, and a practicing lawyer as well. So a lot on her plate.
Oh, geez. Thanks for that introduction, Cindy. Good night, good afternoon, everyone. I wish I could see your faces so I can, read body language and know if I'm boring you at any point. Hopefully not. Cindy has mentioned a couple of the things I was going to talk about, but I'll say it anyways. Thanks for inviting me, Hilary, and also Frank. When I thought about speaking with this new cohort of professional mediators, I thought, I feel like I shouldn't make too many notes and just be authentic. Just tell you, what my path was, what my course was, so it's relatable and, like I said, more authentic. So how did I come to mediation, and particularly training with Riverdale Mediation? I have been a family law lawyer for 17 years, now a certified mediator. In my practice as a family law lawyer, we consumed a lot of mediation arbitration process because it was satisfying for clients and so on. So it was a natural, kind of like path for me to take. So I did my basic family mediation course with Riverdale many, many moons ago. And then I followed up with the advanced family mediation course. And then the internship that I just completed maybe about a year ago. Feels a little bit longer, but I think it was just a year ago. Lucky for you guys, you can do a lot of this on Zoom. When I did the basic and advanced, it was in person. I enjoyed that. But I think Zoom has so much more opportunities, I suppose, and so on, particularly if you're a working professional and so on, and you can drive your own pace and all that. I know I came on a little bit late, so I suppose everybody talked about the 60 hours part of it, the observation and co-mediating, so I won't go over that. In terms of the experience that I had as a mediator in training, I think it was formidable. Why do I say that? For many, many reasons. It was so hands-on. The mentorship I got, the supervision, the fact that these people were so accessible, as well as the diversity in the panel of mediators that I was exposed to. I think I was fortunate to be able to work with, lawyer mediators, mental health professionals, and even a judge. So I got to see the evaluative approach, transformative approach, and the more facilitative approach. And then you start honing your skills. What suits you best? As a lawyer, I don't think I'm the transformative kind at all. I think I'm a mix of the evaluative and the facilitative. And that's because I saw these people at work. I remember, just how approachable Cindy was throughout this process and remains that way, as well as Hilary and the team she has around her, Frank. I think she handpicks these people. They're also approachable and willing to share. And I think they want you to succeed. And that's what I felt. And when I asked Cindy many times, I'm a lawyer, Cindy, so I don't want to be paired with a lawyer. Give me a mental health professional who will teach me a different approach to mediating, being curious and wanting to know, because lawyers can sometimes be so abrupt. And I mean that by no disrespect. You're so just focused and tunnel visioned, and you're positionally based and not interest based. So we had that in our wheelhouse, being paired with mental health professionals from whom I learned so much. So I thought the depth of an array of skills in terms of mediators is unmatched anywhere else. Okay. And that's a fact. So I think that's what equipped me and set me up for success, I feel. The other thing too is they were so accessible even after hours, like writing to them, wanting to talk about things, they were always willing to share with you. I also enjoyed the chance to do pre-briefs. So when you're in the observation stage, you're able to meet with your mediator for say 20 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour before the start of the mediation. So you can do what I have termed a pre-brief. And then at the end of that, you're able to do a debrief. And that's when you get, ask your questions. Why did you ask things that way? And so on. So you can learn why they're doing what they're doing, as they're doing their intake sessions or the actual mediation itself. I think you all talked about the role play and so on and what the program is like. I think that is crucial. Going through these role plays and what Hilary called realistic simulations, those were helpful because no two mediations are exactly the same. You're in the guts and bellies of people's lives. You're going to have varying issues to deal with. So it's always so good to have this practical scenario in front of you and working with these, fabulous mediators and so on. Okay, so once I was done my mediation and training program, the 100 hours, I then sort of matriculated into the opportunity was presented for me to work as a court-connected mediator. And Cindy explained that there's an on-site piece and the off-site piece. So the on-site piece is a piece I describe as a bus going down the highway, kind of like at 100 miles an hour, or whatever you want to call it. So it's really fast. But I like that because you see it from beginning to end, right? You're doing the intake, you're doing the mediations right there. And sometimes judges are waiting for you to come back with what's the outcome. They've stood the matter down or stand the matter down for 2 hours or 3 hours or something like that. And so that's the fast-paced sort of mediation, the on-site version. But I enjoy that. It's very satisfying and so on. People are willing to, resolve matters. And for family law lawyers among us, I don't know who are the family law lawyers, with the Divorce Act changes recently that came into effect in March 2021, there is now the requirement for legal advisors to push family dispute resolution, right? So judges can't order you to go to mediation, but they can say, go do intake, and they can strongly suggest that you go do mediation. And so my experience being court-connected mediator has been that judges more and more are sending people off. Try mediation. It works for even the most litigious of files, the ones you think, absolutely not. These are diametrically opposed positions. I've learned to I've come to realize that mediation works for even those very difficult cases, because sometimes what's below that is more of an emotional thing as opposed to the practical, things in front of you. So with a court-connected mediation, that's what we do. We're on site. We are on a calendar. There's somebody there, Kathy Wentworth. She basically, assigns us and so on. And, you get your marching orders the night before and you're ready to go. And then with offsite, I deal with Cindy with that. And more recently, I was given the opportunity to work with Riverdale Mediation on private files. Don't know if I've missed anything. If you want to ask me anything that I haven't covered, then feel free to do so. That's about all I have to say for today. Adrienne?
Thanks, Avagene. I'm currently in the observation stage of the mediation and training program. I'm a family lawyer as well by background. I have a private practice and had some experience with mediation, as most family lawyers do, but you're the lawyer in that situation. And one of the reasons I really was excited to be in the Riverdale program was to get a good long period of time to be able to switch out of being a lawyer and into the role of mediator. And when I first started, that was one of my goals, was to really see that difference, get good at that difference. And it really has worked that way. I'm towards the end of the observation stage, not quite, but almost. I've worked with Avagene, I've worked with Hilary, I've worked with a number of other mediators. And you can switch into that role of being mediator once you've seen it done and you've been involved in a mediation and really kind of in a very practical way been in that role. And I echo what Avagene was saying about styles. That I think is one of the big strengths of Riverdale, is not only do you get to see different kinds of files, the on-site are different from the off-site or different from the Riverdale files, but you have exposure to all kinds of different backgrounds, styles, experience when it comes to family law, mental health professionals. And you really can take little pieces from everybody as you start to build your own style. So it really is one of the important parts that has come out of my observation. I also echo what Avagene was saying in terms of people really being enthusiastic about giving you the feedback that you need. Before, after, and I would say during, when I was observing Avagene, we would take a break and she would pull me into a room and she'd be like, okay, what do you think's happening here? What should we do next? And it was really good experience to be able to just take a break for a second and think about what you just heard, what was, going to be happening in the next room. And I really appreciated that, Avagene was so interested in taking that time. She was obviously running the mediation herself, but she was also checking in to make sure that did I have questions? What did I think? And so in a very practical way, you can get your questions answered in real time, but also even in the observation stage, be participating, which is great experience. The last thing I was going to say was just the variety of other experiences that you can have. So for example, I presented a mandatory information program yesterday. So that was my opportunity to talk to people who are just entering the court system, and even being a family lawyer, trying very hard to be presenting mediation as a way to get out quickly and a preferred way to get out quickly, because I think most family lawyers would agree, once you've seen enough matters go to trial and you see what that does to families, you really start to value the places where you can try to divert a file into mediation if it's a good one. And so I echo what Avagene is saying. I was telling Cindy this story not long ago. I had a file that had been in court for 8 years. And, there was an application, there was a motion to change, which is the subsequent proceeding, and the parties just could not resolve on parenting. And the other lawyer and I, who came on at the end of the file, finally managed to get them into mediation with an experienced mediator, and it was resolved. And it's a good thing about being a family law professional is when you can shift the gears and you can start addressing all of the underlying interests, you can really have success for some of exactly the files Avagene was talking about, the really litigious ones. Sometimes that's where you need to be, is not in court, but in mediation. Anyway, that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you. One thing I'll just mention before I put it back to Cindy, and then after Cindy's done, we'll open it up for questions. One of the things that's evolved in the industry, which I think has a lot of possibility, is a simulated internship. So this started, I actually created a 40-hour simulated internship for FIDRIO quite a few years ago. And it was quite a success for the same reason that the online training is a success, and that it established some really good standards and standardized the experience for the learners. And so we delivered that 40-hour simulated mediation program a few times through FIDRO, and it got many people, I believe, two of the 5 mediated cases that there are required for their certifications, as well as I think it was, I don't know whether it was, 40 hours, I guess is what it was, 40 of the 100 hours. Since then, the OFM has developed a similar program, but expanded it. So now you can secure 80 hours of your mediator in training experience via a simulated program that's offered privately by some individuals and organizations. So that option is out there. I'm personally not a fan of that, because I don't think 80 hours of simulated learning is going to give you the best experience. However, it scratches an itch, right? Because there's a shortage of these opportunities. A lot of people want to get accredited. So it's there for you to know about. One of the things that Cindy and I are about to develop, it's still in its infancy, is a partially, we're kind of, I don't think FIDRO is doing the 40-hour simulated internship anymore. And so at Riverdale, we're developing a 36-hour simulated program, which will be available to supplement our existing program or let people get at least 36 hours of their mediator in training program on their own time. Right? Similar to our training courses. So that's something that's in the works, but it's not launched yet, just to let you know. So, people do things in a number of ways. Some people might take the 36 hours simulated and then work with somebody privately to get the rest of their hours, right? Others may take the 36 hours and then the rest through a program such as ours. And the field will continue to evolve. By the time you complete your training, there will be, I'm sure, other options for you to get your simulated experience. But our program has certainly been growing a lot. One of the questions, is there a cost? Yes, there certainly is a cost. There is a cost to all of these programs. I'm reluctant to tell you what our cost is because I don't even know it. But over the years, I believe the cost is, I can tell you, it is as high as $6,000, I believe, or even more with some of the providers. And I believe the way we've structured ours, just to let you know, is to comply with employment standards legislation. So I became concerned along the way that mediators in training were unpaid interns. And that's not a good thing. So we have structured our internship program so that for the 60 hours that you're observing, you're not working. You're not an unpaid intern. You're a learner, basically. And so we charge a fee for that. I want to say in this 4,000 and some range. When you get to the final 40 hours, you actually become an independent contractor and we pay you. And it's not a lot. But that way, we can actually give you work as a co-mediator. We can actually ask you to draft summary reports as a co-mediator. And so I love the structure myself because it actually helps you visualize yourself as a mediator. You're not just a mediator in training because you're being paid for it. And so that's how we structure ours. So the cost in the end, you got to combine those two pieces to figure out what the actual cost is. I'm not going to figure it out, but it's a good way to structure it in my view. And it's working well. And we don't know yet what the cost for the 36-hour simulated program will be because we haven't finished it. But that's it. Cindy, what else? I'll put it back to you. I'll stop talking.
So there was a question, how long does it take to finish the MIT program? So again, it's going to depend on your working status, how flexible you are. With regards to on-site, what happens is I send out emails to the interns and say, okay, I have on-site mediations on these days. Tell me if you're available. And then I spread it out among everybody. And those mediations usually go from 9:30 till 2:00 that you would be working for the day with the mediator. And for on-site, there's the way our subsidized mediation works, the way the government has it structured. It's 1 hour of intakes for each party, and then they have up to 6 hours of mediation, which includes writing up the MSR. But that's spread out. So you would be working with the mediator. If you were working with me, say, for instance, I'd say, okay, when are you available? Let's schedule the intakes. Most intakes and the mediations for offsite are done during the day. At times, it may be on a weekend, it may be in the evening. Again, it's going to depend on the mediator and also the parties with regards to that, but that is very few. And then Riverdale is during the day. So again, if you're flexible and you're able to, arrange for the different intakes and mediations, then you can move a lot quicker. I usually encourage the interns to try to complete it within 6 to 8 months max, but try to keep it to 6 months. But again, life happens, and as long as you're, communicating with me, we'll work together to try to see what we can do in your situation. Sometimes people have had to put a hold, and especially lawyers. I will get emails from lawyers saying, I'm getting ready for a big trial. I can't take any new cases for 3 weeks or so. And that's perfectly fine. But just let me know. Just don't go MIA and I can't find you. Just keep me posted, and we work together with regards to that. So I think that...
Cindy, I'm just saying there's another case here, which is another question rather, which is not exactly related to the mediator and training program, but it's a good question. How much can a mediator charge for their services? So just so you understand, on-site, off-site, you don't charge privately. So those of you who are brought onto rosters, there's an application process for that. You have to meet government criteria. It's a bit complicated getting onto one of the rosters, and not all rosters are bringing in new mediators or IRCs. Some are, and every roster is independently managed by a service provider in that court jurisdiction. So you'd need to really reach out to the service provider in that jurisdiction and find out if they're adding new members to their roster at this time. You will be paid a rate by that service provider depending on their budget, and it's different across the province. So the rates, I can tell you, in court-connected mediation are not great, but the benefit to that kind of role is that in most cases you're guaranteed to be paid for a certain number of hours, and you don't have to go out and get the work yourself. So there's trade-offs to everything, but the rates that court-connected mediators are paid, I would say, range probably from $50 an hour in some cases to over $100. It just depends on your qualifications. Lawyers tend to get paid a higher rate. In terms of private services, again, that's going to depend totally on the market and your qualifications. I know private mediators who are family lawyers who are charging $800 an hour. And I know, I can tell you our rates at Riverdale are the retired judge charges $600 an hour. I charge $500, and our other colleagues charge $450 and $400 an hour, depending on their background. So those are actually quite reasonable rates for family lawyer mediators. And there are mediators who are not family lawyers, but who have other areas of relevant background who charge similar rates, and many charge less as well. So there's quite a diverse range of fees. And I will say as well, many people who are mediators are also doing other things, and so they're not drawing exclusively their income, right, as a mediator. And that's actually a good thing in most cases, because it gives you, I think I'm probably a better mediator because I am a lawyer, and I am an arbitrator, and I am a teacher, and I do screening for family violence, and I teach that. And so I think all of these things work together. And I think what you want to start doing is visualizing a career path, right? And think of your strengths. What is going to make you stand out? What's going to make you good? What do you have to bring? And how can you develop that and make it work well for you? It's a lot of work. It's an intensive field. The work's intensive. It's exhilarating. It's powerful. It's important. It makes a difference in people's lives, and you feel that. It's enormously satisfying. And even when parties don't settle, it's enormously satisfying work. And we get great positive feedback from clients whose cases didn't settle, but the experience that they had with us was so good. There are so many components of the mediation process that help people, whether they settle their case or not. One thing I haven't even talked about, by the way, is interviewing children. That is a whole different area. It's a different area of practice. It isn't currently required to take that training to become a family mediator. That may change. these certifying organizations may be adding that on in the future. I think they probably should. And I am qualified, for example, to interview children through the British Columbia here, the Child Society, which was a great training, I will tell you. And it's really important work. And it's something we increasingly are talking about in the training. You do have an obligation under the law to hear the child's voice as a family mediator, and certainly as an arbitrator and a parenting coordinator if you're making decisions affecting the child. So that is a very interesting and growing and evolving area of practice that's related that I didn't even put on these slides, and I should, because a lot of people increasingly who are doing this work are also qualified to interview children and are supplementing their work. As a parenting coordinator, I do interview the children on the files that I'm working with, and it is enormously valuable. So the field is great, and it offers so much, but it is a field of self-employment, and it's a field of creative self-employment, and it is a field of tenacious self-employment. And so if those ideas excite you, then this could be a very great field for you. The training is useful no matter what you're going to do with it. A lot of people just take the training and then take what they've learned and apply it to whatever else they're doing. It's part of their journey. So lots of things that you can do with this. But does anybody have any other questions, or do any of Cindy or Avagene or Adrienne or Frank want to say anything further?
I have nothing else to add, but I do want to again stress to everyone that after today, if you want to review the recording, let me know. I can send you a link to this recording. Also, any information about our upcoming mediation program, please reach out. That's all I want to. That's all I want to say on my end. Cindy?
Nothing to add unless somebody has a question for me.
Same.
And I just looked in the chat about the OCL. So they're not doing mediation. They're the ones that would be doing court assessment or voice of the child that's ordered by the judge. So they have jobs. But again, for mediation, the whole thing is being neutral in different areas. And as Hilary said, people do take the training and apply these skills if they're dealing with families and even with employees, the conflict, the interest in, what transpires in families can also transpire in some ways in work environments. So these skills are very transferable.
The questions in the chat have been great, and I hope this has been helpful. Some of you have indicated that it has, so that's great. That's our goal. Demystify some of this, excite you about some of it, give you some ideas, maybe about where you might fit in. I would say to anybody who's interested in the field, do get involved. Like the AFCCO is great, and the organizations have, join as a student, go to the webinars, go to the conferences. The conferences in this field are fantastic, all of them. And the webinars are great. I just did, by the way, a webinar for the OAFM that was their best attended webinar ever, which I will brag about, on mediation confidentiality, right? Such an important topic so most of us are out here working in a silo. There aren't really a lot of mediation firms, and it's so important for mediators to get this kind of information somewhere. The FIDRO webinars are excellent because and so are the OFMs, right? They give you information that will be helpful to you and inspiring to you and keep you current. So Legal Aid Ontario played around with offering mediation services by a staff mediator for a number of years. The mediator was actually my neighbor. And she's wonderful. but they stopped because it didn't work out. But, great to try these things out and see what's going to help the public. And the other really great thing is the introduction of paralegals in this field. And I know that's controversial and a lot of lawyers don't support it, but I'm an absolute believer that it is a positive thing. For those of us working with unrepresented clients, we see an unmet need every single day. And if a client is working with a skilled and trained mediator and also being supported by a skilled and qualified paralegal, they can do a lot together, right? So as a skilled and trained and qualified mediator, I welcome skilled and trained and qualified paralegals if they're affordable, because that's better than nothing. So I'm absolutely a supporter of it, especially for the FDR field. There's nothing better that will support family dispute resolution professionals than the introduction of another source of legal advice for our clients, because we bring that. These people are not just floundering on their own. We're supervising them in essence. Certainly, it's one of the great benefits of mediation, right? Avagene will tell you how much time she spends as a mediator, right? Especially a court-connected mediator trying to collect the financial disclosure. So we do so much for the clients already in the realm of legal-ish work. So we want them supported and advised by someone with legal training who can actually advise them, because of course we can't. So very, very, very important stuff happening in our field. How difficult. The training can all be done. To Philip's question,
Yeah,
if you're still here, I don't know if you are.
Yes, I'm here.
The training can, there you are, all done remotely. We have students in across Canada taking our training and in other countries. That's one of the great benefits. You may be doing your tutorial at 3 a.m. Yeah, it's one of the great advantages of doing the training using a learning management system.
Right.
Well, it is. I don't want to oversell it. It's not perfect. Mediation is not for everybody. Some cases need to be screened out. There are people who are not good candidates for this process. The courts serve a valuable purpose. I'm a big believer in the courts. In fact, those working in the courts these days are heroes in my view. And so, we work with them, and it's a great field.